May 28th through the 30th of 2011 was the 43rd Annual Kinetic Grand Championship. That symbol in the middle is the Kinetic chicken. It's the symbol of the championship race, and it's done for the glory, meaning they don't have big prizes that they give. Kinetic sculptures are basically modified bicycle machines, and they're made to look sort of like parade floats. And so on May 28th, they started from Arcata as a 42-mile race, and these are some of the pictures here from the first day. This is the Spirit of 76 kinetic sculpture, and they have a sign on there that that is for sale for $1,420, or you can pay more if you like to buy that. Here's one. They also have, as part of the kinetic sculpture race, they have the Rutabaga Queen, who does the announcing and several other things. Well, these are former Rutabaga Queens, a few of them anyway, on this sculpture called the Heroes of Gloriopolis, where they dressed up as superheroes, sort of a take on Superman and Metropolis. And so they are pedaling there, their bicycles there, there's pedals to move the float down the road there. This one has a big butt, so I took a picture of that part of her costume there. And then this one here is called Piece of Cake. You can see the four wheels or so down there, and they pretty much all of them pedal somehow sort of like a bicycle, but then they're dressed up and made to look more like a float type thing. So that was called Piece of Cake. Then here's another one. I'm not sure which one this is. This may be the Sprocket Brothers, the Private Eyes. Then this one is, you can see Lost Coast Brewery is sponsoring them. A lot of times they get sponsors in order to pay for those kinetic sculptures. On the right there in that top hat is the son of the founder of this, who started it back in 1969, Hobart Brown. So this is his son there. But this here was a fire engine, and in the front there they have the hood. When they honk the horn, the hood would open and a dog would come out. And they also had the granny on the back operating the hook and ladder, and that's the granny there. And then this one was called Melvin. It's several dolphins, and you can see their bicycle type machines they're pedaling there on the wheels down there. There's the Kinetic chicken again. A couple people with those Kinetic chicken symbols. This one was called Newly Dead. It says Just Buried, and it was a taco truck, and it was sponsored by Rita's, which is a Mexican food place. So they made it a taco truck, sort of their Just Buried type vehicle that they're getting away in. And this one is called Picnic Basket, sponsored by Eureka Natural Foods. It has a bottle of, I guess it's champagne or wine or something, and then the bread there and some cheese, and they even got ants on the side. You can't really see it too good with the crowd. This one was very neatly designed here with a lot of metal around it. This was a fire-breathing dragon one. This one is called World Peas. You can see the tire there. It says Visualize World Peas. And then in front of there is a guy who rode his unicycle through it all, except for the water. When he got in the water, he put the unicycle into a kayak and then pedaled the kayak in the water. Here's that dragon again, and you can see the fire coming out of it. It's pretty cool. This was Mushroom Ones, operated by Fun Guy. He's popular guy, operates these things every year. He finished in last place, but it didn't really matter. They don't give big prizes, so a lot of times it's just, you know, making some sculpture that looks nice and just parading through the streets and where the people could see it and having a good time in the process. There was one that was a giraffe, and they had, all these have support crews to help them along, and so they had a lot of people with these giraffe heads that were dancing and singing and entertaining the crowd. This was a tiger that was built by Eureka High School. Last year they won the race. This year they didn't do as well, but they did finish. Here's the Heroes of Gloriopolis again, pedaling down the street. And then here's the picnic basket. You can see an ant there a little better there. Ant on the side of the picnic basket. And there are people inside that basket pedaling, but they're hidden by the basket, you know. There is another picture of that going down the street. Here's that guy, Cyclops, who rode his unicycle the whole 42 miles, except in the water, of course, going down the street there. This is in Arcata on the first day. They just started the race. And this is the Bouncing Friendly Gnome. Neat get up there and little modified bicycle thing that he went on. Then here's the Melvin one again with the dolphins. You can see a side view of them. And the dolphins actually moved a little bit. They could make a move from side to side, and so that was, you can't see that in the still pictures, of course, but that was neat. Here was one designed by Woody. He's done several of these kinetic sculptures over the years, and this is a NASA space shuttle type design. Here's a piece of cake again, just going down the street. You can see there how they're pedaling there, pedaling the kinetic sculpture down Arcata. This one in the back there, that was called Bamboozled. It was three guys with the wheels there. They were the first ones who, when they got into the water, had to be pulled out. There were several, including Gloriopolis, Picnic Basket, the Giraffe, which we'll see a little bit later, and these, the Bamboozled, that didn't make it in the water, had to be pulled out. They would be referred to as racers, meaning that they've raced the race but didn't go through every single part of it, whereas acers are ones that go through the entire course, water, sand, and road, for the entire 42 miles for the 3 days. There were only 4 sculptures that were acers this year. This one was Sock Puppet. This is just a guy with socks on his hands and doing a little puppet show for the kids, sort of ad-libbing for them, and he just went down. Of course, he didn't go into the water in that little thing because it has wheels down there, but couldn't exactly go, couldn't float there. And then this was really neat. This was a shark with all these CDs on the outside. So that was a neat one. This one, Mr. Fish, is a seafood place in town, and so Mr. Fish sponsored this one, this purple fish. As you can see, they're all pretty much bicycles that are modified, and they sort of look like floats that people see as they're going down the street. But it's not your ordinary parade in that they go 42 miles and also go through sand and water. This was Bonnie and Clyde. They broke down several times. We saw them on the highway on day 2, broken down. We saw them on day 2, just before they got into the water, trying to fix their machine. And so they were not an acer, but they did what they could. They ended up finishing. This one, I only saw them at the one time. They're right here at the start. Bicycle with some little modified cardboard stuff on the outside. I don't know what they did pretty much. Here's that one I mentioned, the Giraffe. The Giraffe was interesting. It started almost a full 15 minutes after all the other kinetic sculptures started. And the second day it got in the water about 30 seconds before the time limit. They had a 2-hour window of getting in the water, and they just barely made it. So they were the ones that just barely made it, but they made it all the way through. The Giraffe there and all these people dancing and singing. They were fun. And then you can see the Giraffe here, and the Giraffe has these red high heels. You can see it on that front left leg there, red high heels that the Giraffe had. And they call them Gladys the Giraffe. Here's just a beautiful Victorian home in Arcata that we saw when we were up there. This is on the second day now when they're going in the water, and they have one guy. They have all these judges here. They make sure they follow the rules. So that guy there has the law book in his hand, and you have the judgmental. It's pretty crazy, the little things they have. Like, for example, Gloriopolis, on that day of the ending, they had other people in there, and they called it Evil-opolis because the evil people had taken over the town. And then the heroes came up and fought them and defeated them and got the town back. So they had little skits like that that made it fun. People had a good time. So there's the guy again with the official law book, making sure people obey the rules. And there were a couple that got in the water without proper safety inspections, and he really let them have it. And this is the water. This is the Samoa Bridge going over from Eureka over to the Samoa Peninsula. And you can see a lot of people on kayaks just sitting out there waiting to see the sculptures go into the water. And here's one. This is the one that won the whole race, as far as it was an acer. It raced the whole race without, it got in the water just fine, the sand and everything, the whole 42 miles. It's called Froze in Peas. They wore afros, green afros. That's the froze. And then they also had a couple people dressed up as peas. You can see one of the support crew there on the rock there on the right. And that made it Froze in Peas. And there they are entering the water. They had to go in the water, I think, a good 2 miles or so, and then on day 2, and then they also had to go in the water for a little bit, mile or so, I guess, on day 3 to get into Ferndale. This is the shark again with the CDs, and it's about to get into the water there on day 2. And then here's a later view where you can see more people have gathered to look at those kinetic sculptures getting into the water. And here's after the giraffe had gone into the water. There's the crew there dancing with their giraffe heads and singing. And then this is on day 2 as they're climbing up what's called Humboldt Hill, a big hill incline. And this is the dolphins going up that hill there on day 2. And then another shot of them farther back there of the dolphins there. And then this is on day 3 in Ferndale, unrelated event, but it's the Memorial Day Parade going through Main Street on Ferndale, and that's the American flag. And there they have the state California flag there as well, carrying it in the Memorial Day Parade. And then also in Ferndale is this old-timey fire truck. So that was interesting. And that's the end of the slideshow.